And our next speaker actually works at CCF, Cheetah Conservation Fund. He's an ecologist and a PhD candidate doing research there. Please welcome Stijn Verschueren. Close.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Today I want to present some insights on what it actually means for biodiversity to protect a species like the cheetah. Starting from some species-based conservation concepts, I want to focus on the flagship species potential of cheetahs. Flagship species being species that attract a lot of attention because of their charisma, and so the resources can be used to protect these species' habitats, as well as the umbrella species potential. Some species are very wide-ranging and co-occur with a lot of other species. So by protecting these, we protect the other species that co-occur. These concepts has faced some criticism. Acknowledging these, I think our task is sort of to align these concepts with each other and try to bridge the international appeal of cheetahs with the local conservation needs. So cheetahs are a flagship species. They are listed as the 7th top species as the most charismatic animal in a survey asking a broad public about their favorite species. Cheetahs mostly live in drylands. They are a flagship species for these dryland habitats, as well as for unprotected lands, with 77% of their range occurring outside of protected areas. Cheetahs are flagship species for shared landscapes. We did a literature review of the peer-reviewed research articles that had cheetah in the title, the abstract, or the keywords, just to identify the widespread interest that's gone into cheetahs, and we identified close to 1,000 research articles that focused on cheetahs. We classified as well different research teams to these articles, and we identified articles on disease, the formation of disease and the clinical treatment of these as actually the most common research team. Second to this was the studies on the morphology and physiology of cheetahs, and mostly relates to their high speed characteristics. What was interesting as well is that 30% of these research articles were classified under more than one research team. That's presented here in this network diagram. Sort of shows the connectivity of different research teams. And interesting to see was that the most connected team was conservation. So many research articles always made a concerted effort to link it back to the conservation of the species. Mostly of the species, not necessarily of the biodiversity, which they co-occur with. And then 60% was done on ex situ populations, illustrating the importance of captive populations for cheetah research. Just interesting to mention as well that close to 500 additional articles were identified. They didn't really relate to the biology of cheetahs, but they had the keyword, or the word cheetah in the title. Reflects the current stance of cheetahs within some modern day societies. Articles relating to new applications, processes, and technologies, and made reference to cheetahs because of the speed of these new applications. So, as presented before as well, this is sort of where these research articles, or this research took place, when it was on wild cheetah populations. Similar to the figure on the right. There is some geographic bias in cheetah research. Actually, most of our knowledge is derived from a few well-studied cheetah populations. So I think we should definitely acknowledge the widespread interest in cheetahs as a flagship species. We're identifying some bias in research teams and geography, so I think the time is right to use all the knowledge to sort of work out a more inclusive, comprehensive, and coordinated approach to cheetah conservation. The question arises then, where should we rather focus? And then it brings in the umbrella species concept of cheetahs. Cheetahs are very wide-ranging, very large home ranges, crossing various habitats. In fact, they almost are present in half of the ecoregions present in Africa. ecoregions being sort of the smallest geographic conservation unit, where species compositions are broadly the same. And also this paper below identified, I think, cheetah as one of the top 6 cheetahs for priority. And I'm mentioning this here because this assessment also included an umbrella score of prioritization. What we did, we looked at the cheetah's range and how it overlapped with both species richness rasters as well as the various ecoregions. We tried to combine the two because simply looking at species richness wouldn't be very informative. Cheetahs are a flagship of dryland habitats, so they occur in more or in less productive systems. Therefore, we combined as well with ecoregions and sort of came up with this map. I'm explaining it with this ecoregion, the West Sudanian savanna. As you can see, the cheetah range covers only a small portion of the ecoregion, but the biodiversity within this small portion of the ecoregion was much higher than in the rest of the ecoregion. So that's sort of the darker red colors, means that cheetahs in a bit more ecologically valuable areas. We did this for different species richness rasters, considering all species assessed by IUCN and also only the threatened species. And it was quite interesting to see how the variation in coloration appeared, with more red colors indicating more ecologically valuable areas. What determines the variation in ecoregion species richness, it's sort of the attributes. So let me just go back to this one. So what does the variation in coloration sort of determine? We looked at the different ecoregion attributes, and summarizing this figure here mainly presents that cheetahs in a bit more ecologically valuable areas in ecoregions that are sort of less protected under high human pressure and are therefore sort of occurring in the last remaining intact places of these ecoregions. And I think this exercise can help us in working out conservation priorities. This is intuitively already guiding our monitoring efforts, where we are surveying cheetah populations and based on this trying to inform conservation programs. And I think with this, it sort of illustrates that cheetahs represent an important biodiversity value, as well as the complementary potential of cheetah conservation, with most populations occurring outside of protected areas and being a flagship of these unprotected lands. This exercise is, of course, very dependent on species range maps, which are constantly changing, so some caution with the interpretation should be considered. And I hope this can contribute to working out some prioritization, and I think it can be important to think of cheetah conservation units. Thank you.
Thank you.